thank you for joining us. This is our continuing series with our Maryland arts featuring artists in Maryland. So thank you for joining us, Deb.
Thank you.
But Deb, I'm going to have you introduce yourself because I love the way you pronounce your name.
So my name is Deborah Walmer.
Deborah, I like that.
It's actually the old pronunciation. It's considered the Hebrew pronunciation.
Really?
Yeah, and in fact, I've traveled a lot, and the only place that pronounces it Deborah is here in the U.S.
Get out of here. Look at us learning something new every day.
Right.
I love that. Okay, so talk to me about your creative process.
My creative process, okay. So for me, it all starts internally. It's normally an emotion. It's how I deal with my depression, my anxiety, things that are going on in the world, things that make me nervous, all this racial justice that needs to happen. It's all coming from internally, and it's a way for me to express that through art. So I start with a notion, a word, and I write those on my canvas, and then I paint around the lines. Sometimes shapes emerge, figures, sometimes not. I also incorporate African fabrics because I love Africa. When I was in college, I went to Guinea and studied African dance, and I've just embraced it ever since.
What is your preferred medium?
Oil and mixed media.
And do you like large to work
Very
in
large.
Large scale.
Usually.
Yeah.
I consider large over 72 inches in any direction. Most other people, I think they think large is 24 by 36 and above. So for me, 24 by 36 is pretty small.
Would you consider yourself an abstract artist?
Yes,
Okay.
I do. I do some realism, but mostly abstract.
What is it like being an artist in Maryland? What's the art scene like?
Yeah. So I went to college here in the DC area, Women's College. Mount Vernon College is now part of GW. When I graduated, I didn't really know what to do with my art, and so I didn't really do anything. Moved to California, came back, and then found some from the Women's Caucus for Art, which is a local art association chapter for the DC area. And through that, I found the scene. I found other artists I can become friends with. We hang out, we inspire each other. We have calls for art, so that helps me to be able to exhibit and get the word out. So the DC area in general is pretty lively when it comes to the art field.
You led me to my next question, which is community. How important is community to artists?
I mean, for me, it's everything, really, because if you're just producing art, it's just for yourself unless you have the community involved. And one of my dreams is to eventually open a school for the community where kids that maybe couldn't afford to have art classes can come for free. So that is something that I want to do and give back to the community. And I feel like I feel more fulfilled if I'm working in the community in some way.
Have you gone after grants, and what's that process
That's my
like?
that's my next thing to do. In fact, MSAC, they have a bunch of grants right now that they're
What's
giving
MSAC
out.
for the people out there? That
Oh,
don't know?
okay, the Maryland State Art Council. And so I'm about to journey into that grant process. I haven't yet. I work full time as in IT, so I have to balance making art with my regular job plus all my other responsibilities. I haven't quite yet done it. I've gone to a couple of the MSAC engagement sessions, so I'm learning. But MSAC is a great resource for artists. In fact, I've only been painting again for like the past 5 years, and I started by putting a profile on MSAC, put some images up there, and then I got my first exhibit. Someone reached out to me based on that profile. So I encourage every artist in Maryland to create a profile, get your stuff out there. You just need a couple images, your bio, and some way to contact you. So I'm so happy that MSAC is around.
This series is sponsored by them, so
Right.
we'll make sure that they see you. So you're in IT, which leads me. You're just leading my question. Like you're setting them up. I'm knocking them down, Deb. You're setting them up. I'm knocking them down. Next question. You just led me there. IT, art. They're starting to merge now. Where do you see art and technology?
I mean, it's been around for a while with technology. We used Photoshop, graphics. Back when I was in college, I think that's when it started, and we're talking late 80s, early 90s, where we started grappling with, can we create something with a computer that looks like something that a physical person would create? And the answer is mostly yes. Now that we have 3D technology as well, or we can print in 3D, it's all becoming a little bit more accessible as far as technology goes. But there's also all the social media aspect and how that has really opened up art to everybody. So people that maybe don't go to museums, that don't go to galleries, that are not used to, maybe they just didn't know how to do those things. I mean, who knows how, unless you're taught, right? They now can just pick up Instagram on their phone and say, oh, look at this art, and now it's open, it's free. They don't have to pay to get in somewhere, and now they can start following those artists. And so I do think it's made things a lot more accessible.
What do you say to your fellow contemporaries who shy away from social media because they have a fear, maybe if I put it all out there, who's going to buy it? If it's all out there, someone's going to steal it. How am I going to express myself and get paid and make a living if I give it all away? What do you say to them?
Yeah, that's very something that happens all the time, especially with the older generation. I don't ever think about someone stealing my work because anybody can go into a gallery and take a picture of something. So just because it's on social media doesn't mean that it's, people are going to steal it. It does happen. It's good to copyright your work if you can. Then that helps to resolve that issue. But really, in today's society, you really need to have social media as an artist if you want people to see your work. If you're a solo artist that you're doing it for yourself, it's therapy or whatever, that's a little different. But I think the way I started just recently, like in the last 5 years, is when I started, producing art again. And I started on Facebook posting, here's a painting that I started doing. I haven't painted in years. And then I would post every day my changes, and people loved it. And I was like, okay, I'll stop. You guys don't want to see this. And everybody was, oh, no, keep going. We want to see how these works translate into other things. Sometimes they take a life of their own. You start as one thing and it goes. But anyway, I digress.
No. And I like the fact that you said, so you came to us through a recommendation in Instagram. That's how you came to us. And then when you said you saw my name, you think you remembered me from back when Twitter was a fun place to hang out with in the beginning. And so you just never know the relationships that you can develop on social and where they will take you. Here we are umpteenth years later, after maybe a decade later after the Twitter years, sitting and talking and being able to have this great conversation about your art. Now, how do you balance having a full-time gig and doing your art? And do you ever see yourself doing your art full-time?
Oh, heck yes. I don't know. Be careful. Yeah. Yes. That is I would love to retire early because I have 2 kids in college. Well, one in starting college next year. I can't do it yet. I can't take that step, but it is definitely something I'm looking at. How can I do that? And that's where the grants come in to start, and then get more commissions, hopefully, people to buy work. I mean, that's really the thing is, how can you support yourself? Right. So if I'm retired, I'll have some extra income, and I see the art as being a supplement to that, so that I can work and be free about what I produce.
And where do you produce? Do you have a studio? Where do you work out of?
I have a studio in my bedroom.
Nice. But what's so good about that is that if there are people who are watching who say they want to get started, I love this because you don't have to have a dedicated room. You don't have to have an attachment to your house.
Right.
You don't have to have a separate room in your apartment, right?
You need you have enough space either for an easel or for a desk. And my bedroom's good size, and I now have like it divided off. So it's like I have like 3 easels in my bedroom, and then my bed on the other side. So it's like my studio with a bed in it.
So when things come to you in the middle of the night in a dream, you can just jump up very quickly.
And that's actually why I haven't moved it. So my oldest has moved on to college, and I have a free room, and I thought, I'll put it in there. And I don't think I would work as much as I do with it right there. So if I'm sitting, watching television or something, and I look over, I see the painting, oh, wait, okay, I can see something on TV that makes me think, oh, that gives me an idea. I can just jump up and make some changes.
Do you show your art as well? And if so, where do you show your art?
Yes, right now I'm in an exhibit for the city of Gaithersburg at Borough Park called Our Voices Carry Weight. And it's about Women's History Month, and as women, we have a voice, and we should use our voice and the things that we have accomplished, the struggles that we have. So.
Tell me about some of the pieces in that.
There's some really interesting. It's very strong work. If you get a chance to go to Borough Park in the city of Gaithersburg, I would definitely recommend going. The exhibit is up until the 23rd, I believe. There's some mixed media works where this one artist has taken recycled items and made portraits of people. There are sculptures in the work. I have 2 pieces that are abstract. They're both mixed media. One is mostly fabric with oil paint. The other one is oil paint and then fabric and lots of layers.
I talk to a lot of artists now that are in mixed media. Is it because of the dimension and the texture?
Yes, I think that for me it is. I feel sometimes with one layer of paint, you're not getting that depth that I think the viewer wants to see, but also, for each layer I can address something different. So one layer might be, my path to something, and then the next layer might be the struggle. Next layer might be the accomplishment. So you're kind of building all these things together, and then it creates a more cohesive artwork.
And talk to me a little bit about Instagram then. Do you tell a story as you're doing your tiles in Instagram? Is there a rhyme and a reason? And this is to help some of the other artists out there that are struggling, that are trying to figure out, okay, I know I need to start an account. They keep telling me I need to do social media. I would suggest, as a social media person and somebody who's been working in the field for a while, that you start with Instagram. That's where the beautiful images are, right? So, but it's not a haphazard thing.
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, I mean, it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. So you have to figure out, what is it that I'm trying to say? Yeah. What is my narrative? Yeah. As an artist in general, you need to know that. And a lot of artists don't know that. They just paint whatever. But you have to have this narrative so that people know, oh, when I think of this, I think of this artist. And so you start drawing people in. So the first thing is, what do you want people to see when they come to your page? They might see one of your works out there on Instagram and say, oh, that's interesting. Let me look at their profile. And then they see everything. What do you want the reader or the audience to look, to think? Me personally, I'll post my daily changes in my work until I have a finished work. And then I archive everything except for the finished piece.
So they get to see the whole process.
They get to see the whole process. And then also, if you just come to my profile, you don't see too many of those making it clutter, You'll see just the one I'm working on now, and then all of the finished products. And I have a separate Instagram page for my personal life because I want people just to see the art when they come.
What do you think about, we're going to go back to technology for a little bit. What do you think about AI and how AI is impacting art and artificial intelligence? Oh, it's a bad, scary thing. How do you think about that? Being an IT person and an artist, I can't wait to hear this answer.
Well, the other thing is interesting is when I was in college, I worked in the IT lab. And back then, we didn't have laptops. There wasn't in the 80s. There were no laptops. So I had an honors class that I was taking, and I had to address AI with art. So at that point, it was more of, the limitations. And now it's a little bit bigger. Some of the issues that I have are these works that are put into the AI stream are copyrighted works. So, if my work gets out there, did I give permission for my work to be in AI? No, I haven't done that. So that is, for me, the challenge with AI.
Which is also, I hate to cut you off, but it's often the challenge with technology. The tech is going so fast and the guardrails don't go up. They can't keep up as quick as the technology is rolling out.
Yeah, and I think that's why some of the older generation has trouble with like Instagram and stuff. And what I would say to those people is, if you can get on YouTube, start looking at, there's so much out there on how to create Instagram, what's the best way, how do you market. There are tools that you can use to schedule your posts, so you can spend 30 minutes on a weekend, schedule out all of your your items that you're going to be doing, and then it does it by itself. But again, the change, like it used to be how many likes you got, how many followers you have. Now it's about the video, and it's transformed, and I'm not quite there yet I've made a couple videos, but it's just challenging for those who don't have as much time to dedicate to the art. But, it's hard to keep up. Definitely.
You brought up YouTube, and I was just you keep setting them up. I keep knocking them down, Dad. You were talking about YouTube, and as you were talking, I was thinking to myself, and if you don't feel comfortable with Instagram, YouTube is another way as well, right? Being able to do short videos. For some people, it makes a lot more sense for them to just, set up their phone, put it on a tripod, and videotape them doing the art process, right? Like that's still enjoyable for some people. Some folks want to look at stills, other people might want to look at videos. So that's another way to get your name out there. Do you find that you use these tools for marketing as well? Because that's a big issue for artists now.
Yeah, so I have a website. It also use Instagram and Facebook. YouTube is there. I don't use it as much. Also LinkedIn. Now LinkedIn, my page is split between art and my professional, and that I wasn't sure how that was going to go, but it's working out so far. But the media has helped this. The technology has helped artists, I think, in a way of like, you have video on your phone. You don't need to go and buy a camcorder like it used to be. You don't need a tripod. You don't need all of these things to create content. Right. You have everything at your fingertips, and it really is, keeping up with it is just something you have to try to do, whether it's research or your grandkid, if you're older, to have them show you. But yeah.
What's the engagement like for you? Because the other thing that we talk about is
definitely,
you're going to use social media, you're going to use these tools, but you can't just walk away, right?
Exactly.
There are going to be people out there that want to engage with you, and some may even want to buy your art, so it makes sense to engage with them. What has that engagement been like for you? A good thing, bad thing, comfortable, uncomfortable?
So yes, you're right. Engagement is really important when it comes to Instagram, and more so of asking your audience opinions, questions, engaging them in that way. The downside is there are a lot of scammers. You get people in your private DMs. You can kind of learn after a while who those people are scammers and who are the real people. The people that come into your private messages and say, I love your work, tell me about this or that. If they have a conversation with you before bringing up price and all this stuff, usually those are the real people that are really interested. When you get people saying, can you make a portrait of my dog, and you don't have any portraits of dogs on your Instagram, you kind of know they're probably out for a scam,
Right. I told you I wasn't going to ask you any questions that you couldn't answer, but I am going to ask you one really hard question. Okay. You ready? What's your favorite piece of art that you've done? See, just one hard question. Just
it's
one.
funny because there's a show, there's an exhibit that I want to enter a piece in, and it's exactly on that that subject as what's your best work. It's hard to say.
But is your best work your favorite work?
Ooh, probably not. Probably not. Because my favorite works are a dance series I did of my oldest kid, and I just feel something when I'm looking at those. But I'm not, it's subjective, really. Like, what is your best work? I did a commission for the city of Gaithersburg, and I love it, and they love it. But is it my best or my favorite? I'm not really sure.
Right.
Maybe I haven't created it yet.
I love that answer. Maybe you haven't created it yet. That's perfect. Thank you for joining us, really. Thank you so much. We've come off Twitter. We're now sitting. We found you. We came off Twitter. I found you on Instagram. It's been so wonderful talking to you. I really do appreciate you spending the time.
Thank you so much.
This podcast is supported in part by the Maryland State Arts Council, an agency of the state of Maryland that plays an essential role in ensuring every Maryland resident has access to the transformative power of the arts. Visit them at msac.org.